Hi, I'm Ernie.
And I'm Ben.
And this is Budget Nerds.
What was all in your mind?
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Budget Nerds, welcome back to the show. Excited to have everyone. And welcome to you, Ben.
Thanks, Ernie. Welcome, everybody.
So today we're talking about true expenses. We're doing a deep dive into our true expenses. I have true expenses hold a near and dear place in my heart because it's rule 2, embrace your true expenses. That is my favorite rule of all the rules.
Yeah, that's your favorite one. I mean, rule 3 is my favorite. Although I was talking to somebody else on the team about this, and they started almost convincing me that maybe rule 2 should be my favorite because it's a close second for me, I think, is rule 2. It's huge.
I think most YNABers would say rule 3 is their favorite. But for me, it was rule 2 where I really started to actually feel control of my money.
Yeah.
I got to see those account balances grow a little bit. You know, I've never made amazing money in my life, but I've always, it's been a good amount. I always felt like it was enough, but it could never get ahead, right? Always felt like I was, just paycheck to paycheck. But then with true expenses, and I really started preparing for those, that was when oh, okay, now I can get ahead of the game. Now I'm not paycheck to paycheck like I've been my entire life. So I love them.
Well, let's explain what we mean by rule 2, just in case anybody doesn't know. So rule 2 is embrace your true expenses. And true expenses are non-monthly expenses and bills. Like, I think the best example is like auto maintenance. Your car breaks down, it throws you off, right? Those things that tend to be a little more expensive and they don't happen every single month. And a lot of people start budgeting and they don't consider these things, and then the car breaks down or they get a tax bill or something like that, and it just throws off their whole budget, and they're like, see, budgeting doesn't work. And so what we do is we take those non-monthly things, we anticipate them, and we save a little every single month, so that way when those big expenses do come up, you just pay the bill. You don't have to worry about it because you have money set aside for it. And
no
it makes
stress.
Such a big difference. It takes like that roller coaster ride and just makes it nice and smooth. When we talk about making your finances boring, this is what we're talking about. All the drama goes out of your financial life right here.
Yeah, because I remember even just a simple every 3-month bill like my water bill, which wasn't a whole lot of money, but that would turn into a ton of drama.
Yeah.
Just coming up with that $100, $125 every 3 months, I felt like I was scrambling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not that much money, but boy, it sure feels like it is. But, when I started actually embracing that, preparing for it every month, okay, $25, $15 a month, whatever the case. Then when the bill came, no sweat.
Yeah.
I was ready.
And I like that we say embrace because I like to think of it like we're giving those expenses a little hug, like we're kind of saying, you're part of the team, you're part of my life. Because, these are things that we care about. Like you care about having water in your house, right, Ernie? That's a thing that matters to you, right? But like when they come up and you don't have the money for them, they feel really annoying and really frustrating. But these are all things that we choose to have in our life, and they provide good things for us. So instead of having this like antagonistic relationship with your car insurance bill or something like that, you say, no, I'm actually choosing this and I'm planning for it every month. And it's just another expense like my electric bill or something like that happens every single month.
And I have no idea why I wasn't preparing for these every single month pre-YNAB. I always knew just Christmas
and we're not taught
was
to do it,
on
really.
the same date. I always knew the water bill was coming.
Right.
But still, I wasn't putting money aside for those things. It's almost like I needed the method to just slap me in the face and say, nope, you need to do this.
Oh, well, even after I started using YNAB, it took me a little while to fully embrace certain things. We'll talk about, there's even some things that I think I still have my head in the sand about a little bit. But I feel like I've added more and more. Like Christmas or holidays at the end of the year is like a classic example. For a long time, I didn't save every month for Christmas. but I would always get an extra paycheck in October, and I'd kind of use that. That's kind of like what I relied on.
Yep.
But it's so much nicer.
Which is it's a strategy that works.
Yeah, it works. It worked fine. We always had enough for that. But it's nice. This is another thing that's nice about Rule 2 is if you do get a windfall, like an extra paycheck or a tax return or something like that, it's nice because those windfalls can actually be windfalls, and you can actually use them on something that you want instead of constantly playing catch up and cleaning up messes because of all these life things that happen, So
well, and the other nice thing about preparing every month is, specifically with Christmas, if you find the perfect gift in March, no big deal, right? You already have a little bit of money set aside. You can buy it then, and
yeah, my mom just asked me what I want for Christmas right now because she said she's going to go shopping this week, and I'm like,
and we're recording this October 13th.
October 13th. So I'm like, wow, all right, you're prepared. So she's always prepared for Christmas, like way in advance. I wish I was like her because I saved the money for Christmas, but I feel like I don't spend it. I'm always scrambling to get the right gifts, so I should do it earlier. That's a good idea. Well, we talked it out. Why don't we get into our true expenses in our personal budget, and we can just talk about. I think we're just going to go through all of them, right, Ernie? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And the way I have my budget organized right now is by spending groups. So like I have a group for auto, I have a group for home, entertainment, giving, and then with all of those groups, I have, the various true expenses associated with that group.
Cool. Yeah, and
so we'll kind of break it out that way.
Yeah, I don't have it arranged that way in my budget. I have just like a non-monthly group where I put all my true expenses. But there's also some others true expenses interspersed in different groups. But I arranged it closer to yours, Ernie, so we can talk about it. So why don't you take it away? Let's talk about auto first.
Yeah, let's start with auto. The 3 true expenses I have there are maintenance, new vehicle, and registration. So the new vehicle is the newest group or the newest true expense in that group. And I just made a commitment. I'm always going to be putting a little bit of money aside in this particular category. Now, every month, or I should say, we can't fund this category every month. We sometimes run out of money before we get to that new vehicle, but that's okay. I'm okay, even though it bothers me seeing that yellow in the budget, I'm okay with not funding it every single month because there will be windfalls, the tax return, the third paycheck of the month. Christy and I each get a couple of those every single year, bonuses, things like that we use to top off new vehicle.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, I have one of those too. Well, actually, I guess I'll talk about my auto. Or is there anything else you wanted to discuss there before we move on?
And I think the reason I'm okay with not funding the new month is because a new vehicle is in the distant future.
Right.
We're really set on vehicles right now, so it's not a top priority. But I at least want to be thinking over the next 5 years.
Sometimes you do that. Like I've had categories I put in my budget that are kind of aspirational a little bit, Yeah. And they might not get funded, but it's just kind of there as a reminder that this is something that at least will be important to me in the future. So.
Yep.
Let's talk about auto, car stuff. I feel like whenever we talk about true expenses, I always gravitate toward car stuff because it's just one of the biggest examples. If you have a car, it's such a pain because it'll break down.
It's the example I use in every workshop.
Yeah. So I have auto maintenance as well. I also have car insurance in there because I pay my car insurance every 6 months. So that's a true expense. If you pay it every month, then it would just be a regular bill.
Yep, and that's what I do.
I also have a car replacement as well. So that's what I call it. And I just put some money aside for that every month. And it's kind of cool, actually. I've been doing that for a long time, just a little bit. It's not a ton. And I looked up recently, and I think I have like $3,000 in there, which is pretty great. It's not enough to get a new car, but it is enough to like get you started. So that feels really good.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if I'm going to need a new car. If I did decide it's starting to look like we're going to need a new car soon, I might start saving for that in earnest and putting more toward that. But if it's just a regular time, I just kind of set a little aside just as a precaution. I also have I put my other taxes category in here because really this is used for my car property taxes, because my city does property taxes for the car, and car registration. And actually, I think when I do my fresh start, which I haven't done yet, but we've been talking about it, I think I'm going to break that out and actually call it. Because it was kind of, that other taxes category was kind of like a catch-all for just anything that comes up. But I really realized I have categories for everything else except for those two, and that's really what it is. So
yeah,
so
I like having those catch-all categories. I just don't like those more and more as time goes on. So
well, there's been a bit of confusion with it for me, because I'm not sure if I have enough there, because I'm not really sure what it's for. But like, sure, I know how much the registration is going to be, and I know when it's coming up. I know when I need to pay the property taxes, so I can just create a category for those and put a target and be done with it. So I'm going to break that down a little bit.
Now, you said property taxes for the car?
Yeah. That's my city does that. I pay property taxes for my house and the car as well. Yeah,
that's weird.
It's not much.
Never heard of that.
They don't charge that much, but it is a little something. Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on to home stuff, or I guess you want to talk about entertainment first. That's what you got next on your list there.
Yeah, I don't think you have any of these, but I have an entertainment group, and the two true expenses I'm saving for here are newspaper, because apparently I'm 80 years old, and
it's like actual newspaper, like they send to your house?
Newspaper delivered to our house.
Oh, I love it. Is that every day, or what's the...
No, it's every weekday.
Okay. Oh,
it was when I started the subscription. Legit. It was every day.
Oh, they're slipping a little bit.
What's that?
I said they're slipping a little bit. Oh no.
I know, right? Eventually, it's just going to be like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But anyway,
that's all right. That's cool. I like
the newspaper, and my boys like the newspaper as well. They love looking at the sports section.
I love the idea of that, honestly, because it's just, there's something nice about like, hey, here's the news. This is what you can read to get the news. You don't have to like search all around. I kind of like that. Yeah, that's helpful.
It just helps me slow life down a little bit. So newspaper, and then the trips. And so we don't break out trips into individual category. So we're always saving for just one trip at a time. I know there's a lot of folks, especially they pop into the workshops and they have multiple trips that they're saving for. And I think in those cases there's benefit to creating specific categories for each of those trips, but I just keep it in one.
I like that. Yeah. I have vacation and travel. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think it's helpful just to kind of always be saving for travel. And then if you have something special, you can move it around.
Here's something I just thought of too.
Yeah.
I call it trips for a reason.
It's not vacation, right?
It's not vacation. Because we can go to the cities for 6 hours, right? Go to St. Paul, Minneapolis. That's a trip we can spend from that category.
Right.
Whereas we would never say, oh, that's a vacation, 6 hours to Minneapolis.
Okay, but, so you determine that by like the length of the trip, or like the amount of time you're gone. I would say if I'm bringing,
it gives us more flexibility.
If I'm bringing my kids with me, it's a trip. If I'm going by myself with my wife, it's a vacation.
That's actually very true.
Or maybe if it's like a big planned thing, kind of like what you're saying, like we're going somewhere for like a week or something, I might consider that a vacation. But I still might call it a trip in my head. Well, maybe I could jump to home and then you could follow up with me. So I got several home categories here. I got home maintenance. So that's actually a tricky one, because sometimes we question whether something should go on home maintenance or on home decor, right? Like my wife and I had a debate about this because she wanted to get new blinds, and I was like, that's home decor. And she's like, no, that's the home maintenance. That's an important thing that you should have in your house. And I'm kind of coming around to her way of thinking there. So that was an interesting discussion.
I was going to say you could label it home improvement.
Right. That might be better.
You could make the case that blinds are improving the home. So
yeah, so this is important when you're budgeting the partners, like being clear about what's what, because I thought home maintenance is just like if something breaks, we're going to fix it. Or if it's like something is catastrophically needing to be improved because it hasn't been done and needs to be done, then I would go there. But, she was thinking of it as more like home improvement. And I think it could be both. You could separate those categories out even. Maybe have home improvement, have home maintenance, maybe separate it. But I don't know. I think it's fine to have it in one. I'm not sure, though.
Maybe home maintenance is when you move from the house, right? You're not going to take whatever maintenance, whatever improvement you did. You're not going to take that with you. It stays with the house. Everything else is decor or whatever it is you want to call it.
Yeah. Can you take the blinds down when you leave the house? You probably shouldn't.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I guess you could.
I guess you could. You'd be pretty stingy. That's a good idea. Yeah. So maybe I need to dial that one in a little more too. Appliances is a category, and if you're a longtime budget nerd listener, you'll know that I have this category and I haven't funded it. Still haven't funded it. So
okay, this is interesting because you just shared with the community in the last episode that you've paid off the mortgage.
Yes.
So in my mind, I'm assuming you plan on being there at least a good amount of time in the future. Eventually you're going to have to replace some appliances. Why aren't you funding this category?
I don't know. I just can't do it. I don't know. This is one of those things I just haven't embraced. I feel... Because I think what it is I feel like if we needed to replace an appliance, we would save up special for that. Like it would be like a wish farm item,
Okay.
So, but I have been bitten by this because stuff is broken and I needed to fix it and it was expensive to fix. So it would have been nice to have some money in the appliances category for that. I think I ended up using home maintenance, but it might have been nice to have a separate thing, So I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I think that's really the key thing. It's like I feel like it might be a special like wish farm kind of purchase, like something where I'm saving up special for it.
So are you not considering something like a water heater or a furnace to be appliances? I mean,
I probably would use home maintenance for that. Like a heater broke. I had a catastrophic heater break situation and I use home maintenance. Maybe that's part of it too. It's like I have the home maintenance. I feel like I can use that. So maybe it's not even necessary. Maybe I should just
So you're thinking with the appliances, you're going to be able to tell when it starts going out, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to make a conscious decision. We want to get something. We want to get something nice. Let's start saving for it.
Right. Or if something catastrophically breaks, I would use home maintenance to fix it, So yeah, maybe I don't even need that. Maybe I can wrap it into home maintenance or save special for appliances if I want to get a new one, I don't know. I gotta think.
We're just all waiting for the moment where you wake up on a Saturday morning and the refrigerator is 70 degrees or something like that, and then you have a decision to make, and you can report and tell us.
It's funny you said that because my refrigerator is leaking right now. The seal is like it's old. It's an old refrigerator. It's like super old, and the seal is like not working super well, and it hasn't been for a while. And it's starting to leak water because of the condensation. It's the whole thing. Anyway, so we kind of want a new refrigerator. So it would have been nice if I had saved up for appliances, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Just let it keep leaking. That won't do any damage. Don't worry about it.
Oh, gosh. I'm sure it'll be fine. Puddles of water on the floor. There can't be anything wrong with that. There's literally a towel in front of our refrigerator right now. So that's where we're at.
Okay. That'll work.
Maybe, I think we need to start thinking about it or maybe get a repair person in here again to look at it once again. But anyways, moving on from appliances because I clearly don't have that dialed in yet. This is an interesting one. Pool supplies. So I have a pool and it's only open from like May till September or so. And the other time I close it up and I put a tarp on it, don't do anything with it. So it's funny because over the summer, over like late spring and summer, it's a regular expense, right? I spend from it every month. I buy chemicals and I buy pool supplies, just all sorts of little things I need. But most of the year, I don't spend from it at all. But I save for it every single month, even throughout the winter. And I think that's kind of nice because even though it is a monthly expense part of the year, it's non-monthly most of the year. You know what I'm saying?
So those costs are pretty predictable then. You must have that pretty dialed in.
I've got it
you
pretty
just know
dialed in. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm almost exact right now. I feel like this past summer I needed a little more, so I might bump that up a little bit. But it's pretty predictable, and it's nice to separate that over the whole year instead of piling it all on in the summer. You know.
And I have to say, you're doing an amazing job with your pool. I mean, it is beautiful. Not the structure. I'm sure the structure is too, but like the water is so
pictures.
Crystal clear.
It's a hobby for me, you know, getting the pH just right. And my sister makes fun of me. She says I'm like in there with my adult chemistry set, which is really, it's what it is, basically. So there's like all these, anyways, I could talk about pool stuff forever.
Well, I think everyone here at YNAB looks forward to every spring, the great unveil of, you know, all the whatever the gunk is in there, and then you do your magic and you clean it up and you give us the after picture.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
And if I do it right, it should only take a couple days and it's ready to swim. So there you go. So pool supplies. And then this is actually really fun because I just paid off my mortgage and I had an escrow account with the mortgage so the mortgage company was paying my home policy, my insurance policy, and my property taxes for my house. But now that I paid off the mortgage, it kicked Wells Fargo out. I have to pay those things. So I have two new categories, one homeowner's policy and one real estate property tax. So that feels pretty good that I get to do that myself now.
So why does that feel good?
Because, well, for one thing, I was always kind of annoyed because basically the mortgage company would tell me how much I needed to pay for the escrow for those two things, and they would always get it wrong. Like every year they're like, there's a shortage and you need to pay extra money. And I'm like, this is your fault. Like, so that's annoying. And also it's just a sign like, hey, I don't have the mortgage anymore. And it's just like it was fun to create those categories because it was a milestone, you know?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That's why I asked that question, is that control piece, because, you know, we recently bought a new house, and previously with other mortgages, I just had everything escrowed. So the insurance, the property taxes, and I didn't think of it. And then with this new mortgage, I'm like, no, I want to have that control back, because I had no idea how much I was paying for property taxes. Like off the top of my head, I didn't until I got my statement. Didn't know what the home insurance was at. And I'm like, nope. And plus, it was my money. I'm like, I don't want you, the bank, keeping my money. I can do that.
They forced me into it. They were like, you have to do an escrow account because we know you little peons, you're just not going to pay your property taxes, and then we're going to be out of our investment. And I'm like, don't you guys know I'm a budget nerd? Like, I can take care of this. In fact, I'm going to do a better job than you. So anyway.
So yeah, it felt great to be able to take that control back, and now I feel even more dialed in with my home expenses. So okay, cool.
Last one I have is pest control, because I have exterminator come do like preventative stuff every 2 months. So since it's not every month, it's a true expense. So, but although I'm thinking about stopping that, I'm not sure it's doing anything because I don't know. I still see spiders and junk, and I don't think termites are in the contract. So I'm kind of like, maybe it's a racket. I don't know. We're going to rethink that a little bit. So.
Yeah. Plus, spiders have a purpose, right? So
that's true.
Maybe they could do the home some good.
I always try to leave the spiders unless they're super really spooky. But otherwise, I leave them alone. So there you go. All right. What about you, Ernie? Let's talk about home stuff.
Furniture.
Oh, furniture. That's something I haven't done. That's interesting.
Yeah, I put that one in there for Christy. Because at the moving in the new house, we had horrible furniture, and we still do. We've been trying to figure out the couch situation for over a year. So yeah, made sure we have money in that category, so when the time comes, we can buy. Housewares. I hate that name.
What does that mean?
Do you even know what I'm talking about?
You mean like pots and pans and stuff like that?
Yeah, towels.
Okay.
It's so stuff that isn't furniture, right? I'm not going to sit on it, but it's not like cleaning supplies. I have no idea. And just the other day, this is funny, Christy was like, what is housewares? Like, what do I use this category for? But I pulled it from someone else's budget. I don't know where I saw that, but I'm like, oh, this is better than what we had before. And I don't even remember what the old name was, but I just can't dial in that category name for pots and pans, towels, rugs, blinds.
Yeah, it's just like stuff that wears out that's like not furniture is kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I could see a lot of value in that for sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Garbage, that's every 3 months here.
Okay.
Improvement, that's my home maintenance.
Okay.
Insurance, talked about that. Mud jacking.
What is this? Mud jacking?
Ben, don't replace it, raise it. No, raise it, don't replace it. That's their slogan. So
is this like a foundation thing? Oh, okay.
It's for our concrete driveway. And it's older, and it's starting to crack and then kind of sink in some areas.
Okay.
So they're going to, pump it up with more concrete, basically, and
like
level
underneath?
it all out.
I'm so interested in this.
Yeah, they drill holes, 5/8-inch holes into the concrete, pump it up with more concrete, and then it's going to get that level. And as long as
raise it, don't replace it. I love it.
The reason that it was sagging and cracking, I should be able to get a lot longer life out of this driveway.
Mud jacking. That's a great name.
It is, right?
I love that.
But here's that is a specific category. Now that in and of itself is home improvement. But when I have, special home projects that are happening really soon and I'm prioritizing, I create a separate category so that it does actually become a priority. And then once I'm done with that, it's just a one-time expense generally. I just delete the category and merge it back with home improvement.
Cool.
To keep all that data.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Property taxes, talked about that. Water bill, that's every 3 months here. And then yard.
All right. Oh, yeah, your yard's a big one, for sure. I know you care a lot about that.
Oh, very much so. It doesn't require a lot of money. And like your pool, I'm not spending from it year round. So yeah, really trying to pump money in the winter, and then I have it there in the summer, and I can make my lawn beautiful.
Yeah, and like my pool, we enjoy all your updates in our internal Slack for about your yard. I feel like my pool is analogous to your yard as far as it fills the same place in our hearts, I think.
Absolutely. It's free therapy.
That's so good. I love it. Do you want to keep going and talk about giving, or do you want me to do it?
I have a giving group, and then my true expenses there are Christmas, donations, gifts. So gifts, that's like, birthdays and Mother's Day, Father's Day, stuff like that.
Awesome. That's really exciting. Cool. I have a giving category group as well. I have money that I give regularly to some organizations, gifts as well. And actually, I'm really excited. We're bumping up all these because I talked about it in the last episode with the house being paid off. We're trying to give a lot more, and so we're bumping up all these, and I'm really excited. I put Christmas under here, even though in my budget I just put Christmas under non-monthly. And one thing I do that's interesting, I think, with Christmas is I have one category for Christmas, but then when December starts coming around and it's time to actually spend that Christmas money, I actually create a separate budget file for Christmas, and whatever amount is in that Christmas category, I create like a fake account in that in that budget file, and I make that the starting balance, and then I budget for every person I want to spend, and we record the spending, and it's interesting because I actually have to record the spending twice. I record the spending in my actual budget, just to the Christmas category, and then I put it to the specific person in my Christmas budget. But it's kind of nice. It helps me get organized. And
it would help you really dial in that specific true expense. Okay, we have all this Christmas money. Now let's give every one of those $1 a job.
Yeah.
Specific jobs.
It's kind of weird.
You could do that with vacations, home renovations. A lot of folks do that, right? Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny when it's weird when I'm actually budgeting out that Christmas money because I'm like, how many dollars worth do I like this person versus this person? Right? We usually do mostly the same for my family and stuff, but it is kind of a funny experience doing that. Let's move on. Oh, I know. One more really big thing I want to talk about in giving is I have a compassion category, and this is we're bumping this up a whole lot, and I'm really excited about it because well, I'm going to talk about what it is. Compassion is just like random acts of kindness. So like if I want to give like a really big tip to a server at a restaurant, I can do that. Or if somebody in my community is having some financial trouble, I could like put some money in their mailbox or that kind of thing. It's just like this is the most fun you'll ever have with money kind of thing, just kind of giving money away. Yeah. And it's been on my bucket list for a long time to make that category super big and just have just go hog wild and have a lot of fun. And so I think we're going to do that with the new budget. And
Very cool.
I'm so excited about it because it's really fun. So that'll be good. And that will just build so we'll put a bunch of money in that every month. And I say it's a true expense really because we might not necessarily see a need every month, but it'll build. And then if there's something that somebody in our community needs, we can fill that need. So
see right there,
excited about it.
You need to latch on to that excitement over the compassion category and let that be the driving force into that new fresh start budget.
It's fun because we give to organizations, but this is it's random and you can see it immediately. It's fun. So yeah, I'm excited about
Very
that.
Cool.
Why don't you take on non-monthly?
So then I have a group called non-monthly because these true expenses don't fall under any of my other groups. So I have boys, which is activities for the boys.
Okay.
And I think that's about it. Credit card annual fees.
Okay.
So we have a couple cards where we pay that annual fee and it's worth it to us, so we just save for it monthly.
There you go.
Clothing, haircuts, life insurance, which is every 6 months for us.
Okay.
And then school. We're homeschooling the boys, so...
Oh, that's right. I was going to say random school activities, but you're homeschooling, so you got all the curriculum and, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, really, I think that could be a monthly, but it's always been a true expense for us, so we just keep it there.
Well, it's funny. There's some things where you do spend on it monthly, but it's irregular,
True.
Utility bills is a good example for me. Like my electric bill is really high in the winter because I do electric heat, and it's lower in the summer. Or maybe it's the opposite. I actually don't even remember. I have to look at that. It's changed a little bit because I've got a new HVAC system. Anyways, but one season is higher, another season is lower. So I just budget an average amount, or assign an average amount to that category every month. And if it's in the lower months, it just rolls over. And so it's ready for the higher months. So sometimes you can kind of take a monthly bill and kind of true expensify it a little bit like that.
Yeah.
All right. Let me look at my other, I actually have a few category groups to talk about. So I might take it away. Oh, is there anything else, Ernie, that you want to talk about?
No, that's it for me.
Okay. Didn't want to cut you off. Okay. Well, I have a technology category, which is also another weird one. I set a little money aside for that, and that's just to replace phones and, random HDMI cables, little bits and pieces here and there. But again, it's one of those where if I wanted to make a big purchase, like a new phone or something like that, I would probably save up separately for that. So this it's kind of a catch-all for little things, but also a reporting category for bigger things. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's one thing. Subscriptions, that's another interesting one because I put all my monthly subscriptions and my annual subscriptions all together in one category. And so sometimes I spend from that every month, but it also builds up. And then I have money for all that kind of thing.
And remind me, how do you come up with that monthly amount?
So, you take the monthly amounts and add those together, and then take all the yearly amounts, divide those by 12, and then add those together. So does that make any sense what I just said there?
Right.
And so you come up with an amount there.
You probably had to front load that category a little bit.
Exactly.
If you were starting a mid-cycle or something.
Yeah, when I first started, because you look and see, oh well, the Amazon Prime thing is going to be due next month, so we got to front load it a little bit. And I struggled with it for a while. I had this complicated spreadsheet where I simulated what would happen going into the future. And it was really weird. I finally realized I just need to park a good amount of money in this category and then save every month, and it will work out. You know
right.
what I mean?
You don't have to have the exact amount needed, right?
That's what it was. I was like, I have to have this certain amount, but it's once I did it that way, I just like put like a bunch in with a bonus or something, with a windfall, and then it was smooth sailing from there. So that's how I handle it. I also have haircuts as well, which we're also going to bump up a little bit, which is exciting. Vacations and travel. So that's where I put that there. That's for, like we said, kind of like trips, like you said. Like we go visit my in-laws. That's a trip. We do that. Family pictures. This is the new one. We decided we wanted to get family pictures every year because we just wanted the professional shots every year. And so that's a true expense. So that's a good one.
That's a cool priority.
Yeah. I have a bunch for Bessie, my little puppy, my little pride and joy. She is how old is she now? She is 9 months old, Great Dane. And we got her in March. And it's funny. I feel like I talked about this before. I've added more categories for her than I have for my kids. But
right. So does Bessie have her own group?
She doesn't have her own group, although she did when we first got it. But I've since interspersed her categories among lots of places. Because what I do for my structure is I use the default category groups. Okay. And so I have like bills. Some of them are like on like frequent, where it's just money. It's like her food, for example, is in a frequent thing. But some of them are really true expenses. I have a vet category just for any kind of like shots she needs or any kind of mishaps. You know, I just set some money aside every month for that. For her medicine, because I get her, flea and tick and all that stuff regularly. So that one is really simple because I know how much we're going to spend and when we're going to spend it. But it's not every month, so it's a true expense. Bessie boarding, I save separately, so when we travel, we can board her. Either we hire somebody to take care of her, or we send her to the vet where they actually board them. So that could go into my travel category, but I like to save for it separately just because it helps me visualize it a little better.
Okay.
We're also saving to spay Bessie, which is an interesting thing, because normally with dogs you would spay or neuter them earlier, but with a giant breed, that's the official term, giant breed. A lot of the conventional wisdom is that you should wait like a year because they're growing so much for that year, and so there's like some weird stuff. So we are saving up her whole first year before we do that. So and that's Bessie.
Wow, seeing those categories gives me even more reason to not bring a pet.
It's a lot.
Our family.
It's a lot. You got to think about. There's a lot more than just the beginning. Expenses. It's a lot for sure. Especially when you got a big old dog like me. But I also have a prudent reserve category, and this is probably what you call my emergency fund. But I've talked about this before. I was in a workshop one time, and somebody asked me about a prudent reserve. And I was like, prudent reserve, what is that? And they were like, oh, you might call it an emergency fund. And I just loved the sound of it. Like, it's just so pleasant. Prudent reserve. It just sounded like just a pretty name. And
yeah, it is.
And I actually like it better because, we talk about YNAB, like, do you really need an emergency fund? That's a big question because we're saving for all these true expenses. We're anticipating anything that we might call an emergency. And so I didn't love the term emergency fund because I didn't really feel like that was what it's for. If anything, it was like for income replacement if my wife or I lost our job or something like that. But calling it a prudent reserve, I thought was broad enough. It's just like, hey, this is just some money just to be careful. That's what it is. So I kind of like that name. Then I have a couple like big one-time expenses that I would say they are true expenses because they're just things that are going to come up that I see in the future, but they're not. But I'm going to spend it all at once, right? So, childbirth savings because we're having our fourth kid here in February. So, woo-hoo! Yeah, and that one we're also spending along the way a little bit, but there's the big expenses at the very end, so we'll be saving for that, which is fully funded. That feels really good, and then a new roof. That's a big thing we're saving for because I had somebody come and take a look at some things and they're like, you're going to need a new roof in about 5 or 6 years. And I'm like, great. let's start saving. So
there you
go. That's a long-term one for sure.
You don't want a leaky roof and a leaky refrigerator. So,
yeah. Last one I wanted to talk about. It's just kind of fun. So this is not a true expense technically because I do spend from it every month. But it is one of those things where it's nice to maybe front load it a little bit so you can get more cash flow. And that is my poker category. So this is fun. I have started playing poker once a month with some buddies. And it's not a lot of money. It's like a $20 buy-in, and we do a little tournament. And I love it so much. It's like the best thing. And so what I would do is I would take $20 from my personal spending and I'd move it to a little poker category. I could just spend it straight from my personal spending, but I wanted to track, like, how well am I doing over the past, like, 6 months? How much have I lost or how much have I made? Right. So I have a separate category for it. Well, I didn't love taking money from my personal spending because I want to spend that on other stuff. Right. But I would do it because the poker was worth it. But then I won the whole tournament one time, and I got like $200 out of it, right? And I'm like, sweet. So instead of using that money for my personal spending, I just parked it right there in the poker category. And now I'm good for 10 months of poker, right? So.
And what if you win again?
If I win again, maybe I won't do that. Keep it going? Well, I will say I did take some of it. Like my friend who hosted the poker night, I took him out to lunch the next day, and I paid for lunch because I took his money the day before.
There we go.
So I used the poker money for that. But I parked a lot of it in there and left it. And if I won again, I don't know. I think maybe I'd put some of it in the poker category. I just want to have like a good runway of cash flow for the poker category. So it's kind of a true expense where I know I'm going to do this regularly, and it's kind of nice to have a little money in there so I don't have to save myself the cash flow thing where I don't have to take it from my personal spending every month.
There we go.
It's kind of fun. Yeah. All right.
Well, I want to go back to your prudent reserve / emergency fund, because I was thinking about emergency funds as we're preparing for this, and I was thinking, well, what if I just had one category, call it an emergency fund, and then I could get rid of basically all my true expenses. So simplify the budget categories and just run everything from there. But then I'm like, I don't know. I feel like
this is like a Jesse level experiment. I feel like what he does on the podcast sometimes, where he has a big budget
and I'm not even
experiment.
willing to try it because I love the clarity that true expenses bring. Mm-hmm. And then it comes down to the question, well, is this an emergency, right? And I don't know. So I did the emergency fund like way back, kind of starting the whole budgeting thing, right? That was kind of one of the first things I embarked on. Mm-hmm. Had that emergency fund, but still could never gain ground.
Right.
And it wasn't until I actually started listing out, okay, here are the things that I know are coming down that spending pipeline. Let's prepare for them now every single month. And then when they happen, I'm ready to go. So almost kind of getting rid of that, not needing that emergency fund. And it was that was the point where then I felt like I had control over my money.
It's a big deal. I mean, I remember at one point I started saving a bunch of money to add to the emergency fund because our expenses had gone up with a new house and all sorts of things. And I was like, I should probably bump this up because, the conventional wisdom is like 3 to 6 months of expenses or something like that. And I saved for a while, and then it came time to like put that in the emergency fund. And I was like, you know what? No, like I've been using YNAB since 2013, and I think I've had to tap the emergency fund twice. Knock on wood here. I mean, I've had, it's not because I haven't had stuff happen. I've had all sorts of random things happen, but because I'm saving for all these true expenses, and I have been for so long, I don't really have emergencies that much anymore where I don't have the money to take care of something. And even if it does overwhelm the true expense category, I can rule 3 and roll with the punches and move some money from other categories. So I don't know. I'm not so sure. I felt the same way. Like, I don't know if I really need this, or I don't need more here at least,
Yeah.
And plus there's other things too. Like we're following rule 4, aging our money, and we're both a month ahead as well. So if something happened that was really crazy, we could take some money from that and bring it back into this month if we had to. So there's just a lot of cash flow happening here,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that happens. I think the more you use YNAB, the less and less you probably feel like you need a big emergency fund. And that's a really cool milestone when you're like, we don't need this. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is.
Love it. All right. Anything else you want to add here, Ernie, or is that a wrap?
I think that's a wrap. I think we can head into the true wins.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
No, not true wins.
True wins. The YNAB wins. Yes.
YNAB wins, true expenses.
This is a new segment that we have here on Budget Nerds and all across our YouTube channel. We see so many awesome comments, people sharing success stories using YNAB, and we just wanted to take a little time to share those. All right, so let's start with Stanislava, who commented on our video called Our Thoughts on the Recent YNAB Changes from a couple months back. Then they said, I love the situation where I realize some big true expenses is coming in a few weeks or months' time and need to budget for it. And I go to YNAB and find out that I have already entered this future expense as a new category and the money is already available to spend there. And I see that my brain considered it done and totally forgot about it because the money is taken care of. No worries. Love that so much.
No worries.
You know, every time you set money aside in a true expense, think of it like a little gift for your future self, right? And maybe you'll even be like Stanislava and you'll forget about it and it'll be like a surprise gift. That's really fun.
And then, when it happens, no worries. I mean, just the other day, I went to Menards and I bought 12 furnace filters, just kind of wanted to take care of an entire year.
There you go.
And it was a $40 purchase, not much, but it came from a true expense. And I walked out of the store just like, no big deal. It felt really good. As minor as that was.
I love that.
All right, the next one from Spencer. Ooh, this is for you, Ben.
Oh, yeah?
Spencer says, and this is from How the Budget Nerds Use Goals in YNAB. Okay, so Spencer says, speaking of appliances, luckily I had it in my appliance fund, but after having to go back and forth for over a month with the home warranty that approved to repair my HVAC, but couldn't get the part and kept stringing me along saying they will get it to my contractor, I ended up having to spend almost $8,000 for a new system.
Ouch.
It still hurt, but boy, am I glad that I had that. I'm glad I had that fund already in YNAB and was able to write the check. Fund that category, Ben.
We've clearly been talking about this for a while. Thank you, Spencer, for telling me for encouraging me there. I think I do need to fund it. It would be, because you're right. If something like that happened, I sure would be nice to have some money there. So that's huge.
And well done, Spencer.
Well done.
That's a big amount of money.
That's shocking. Yeah, that would be quite a shock to anybody's budget, I think. But
I'm sure it did hurt. But probably afterwards, no worries, right? No anxiety, no stress. Just it's taken care of. Excellent.
Great win. Love it. All right. Well, if you have any YNAB wins that you want to share, or if you have any thoughts about true expenses, maybe you want to share some of the things that you do, we would love to nerd out with you down in the comments. So be sure you jump down there.
All right. Talk to you later, folks. Happy budgeting.
Happy budgeting. See ya.